Mirdrasil is the tree that is currently in the Onaran Plains that we'll properly see in
it's in the dream in the Onaran Plains.
Yes.
It's literally you go through the dream portal and plant it in there, so it is in the dream. So we'll obviously be going in there to defend it, and then at the end of the patch we'll probably bring it back into the Onaran Plains from the dream, because that's what Alex Strassa says in that really weird flashing cutscene that we had at the end of 10.1.
That was a funky one.
Yeah. Did we even see it planted? We did, yes, in the... I can't remember what it's called, but there was a green dragonflight questline towards the end of the Muruk Centaur round. It was around somewhere between 16 and 20 on the round track. That was an interesting choice for them to do.
Actually, you see that? That's an interesting thing. There is a quest on the Muruk Centaur, and it is a main campaign quest. So if you go to like the Dragonel's campaign on your quest log, like it will show there, and it will say that you need to get that level of renown. Did you do that? Yes or no? And Matt is currently working the poll. I have a sneaky feeling, Matt, that quite a substantial number of people actually haven't done that because of the way that Blizzard basically... Right, previously you would get a new chapter of the campaign every week, right? It was time-gated weekly. Now what they've done is they have split them up between the Valdrakken Accord and the Muruk Centaur. And also, of course, for the tier stuff, or at least some of the tier stuff, the Drakenscale Expedition. I think the thing, though, it's like, yeah, all that Emerald Dream stuff is in the same zone as the Muruk Centaur, but people think Emerald Dream, tree, and they're not exactly going to think of Centaur. I think in some cases, even though, obviously, the Emerald Dream is involved in their questline. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe they didn't make the best call there. Maybe quite a lot of people have actually missed out on that content.
Well, so far, I'll hold it up for a little bit longer because votes are still coming in, but I see 58% yes, 29% no, and 13% haven't even heard of it. Which is awful when you want to build your patch story around a beat that you put in there that people literally haven't even heard of. Never mind haven't done. And obviously, like, you say, well, this poll isn't exactly going to be representative because it's this audience and it's pretty small numbers. I would say, based on the fact that you're watching on Friday afternoon or evening, depending on where you are, you're watching a stream where two people talk about World of Warcraft and mostly end up talking about lore and pressing news. I would imagine that you're actually, like, pretty engaged. So if you take that going forward to a player base who aren't as engaged as you guys most likely are, and you can see that's pretty bad. Like, that's going to be maybe like half the player base have no idea what this is, if not more. And then they'll be like, where'd this tree come from? So I really hope they have a plan to address that.
I mean, I don't think they do, because that is the story. That's where they put it. You see, it's weird, right? Because you see the previous time that something like, not the only previous time, but if you were to take, say, patch 5.1, Mists of Pandaria, which we're truly going a very long way back now, as much as that's a bit freaky for me to say. The way that it worked in that patch, right? And this was the whole storyline where, like, Jaina did the Purge of Dalaran. It was actually, like, some of the best questing they've ever put in the game. Like, straight up, those story missions were awesome. But that was all centered around the patch 5.1 reputations. And that meant that you got the new stage of the storyline in the new rep that was added in that patch. So it was all focused in. Whereas I suppose for people who maybe didn't like click as well with the renown system, maybe, I don't know, felt different about it to whether it was... Because the other way a lot of people talk about renown, and it's like, you do realize it's exactly the same as a reputation, right? But it seems that for a lot of people, it's like inherited bad things from Shadowlands. Even though it's got the same name as it did in Shadowlands, and it has a similar looking UI. But it itself is entirely different in how it functions. Yet, it has the same UI.
I mean, that's like the...
That's the thing, isn't it?
You don't do that, like, you basically don't do that. That's a horrible thing. You have to be super aware of what your UI is, and obviously in this case, it's like, it fit the purpose perfectly fine.
Yeah, because they're developing, they obviously have a development timeline. It's like, oh, we can reuse all that, do the new thing, cool, let's go. And then they can go quick.
Yeah, it's really like, it's also like, I've been pointed out how it's like, it's optional, and that's just going to completely tank a lot of things where it's not even like Renown itself wasn't particularly rewarding, but it did require doing the same stuff to get to the high ranks. You had to do the same stuff quite a lot.
Yeah.
And then the quests themselves aren't even immediately rewarding seeming. And I hate that this is like where the conversation's gone, because I would love to live in a universe where people are like, that's a quest, I'm going to go do that because I'm really looking forward to it and I'm excited for it. And then I think to myself, I haven't even done the Bane quest yet. Because some of it was because I saw the gist of it on PTR. And I know what it's about and just haven't been bothered to go and do it. I'm like, well, that's a bit shit. So
Actually,
imagine what most people are like.
Could you do that poll again, but for Bane? So to finish this poll, everybody, right? Here's our final numbers. The yeses. More people did say yes, which is certainly good for Blizzard. However, the yeses were at 55%. This is a sample size of 253 votes. The noes were 28 and haven't heard of it were 17. So, you know, that is sizable enough, right? People who have just not engaged with that and therefore won't really know what's going on with Ymir Drasil. That said, even if you did engage with it, I mean, we only found out it was called Ymir Drasil, or Amir Drasil even, because it was referenced by Alex Straza in a cinematic. So, little bit funny.
Out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. I know.
There is so much power in a name. And choosing
it's a good
name
name too.
It's a great name, but it wasn't chosen. It was just dropped out of nowhere. Like, oh, but you didn't know it was called that. And you're like, when was it called that? Who called it that? Because if that's a meaningful name, I really would like to know if, you know, like, what was it like when they named that? Because the scene where they're all standing around and going, here, what should we call this bloody thing? I haven't a clue. What about you? Any plans? Amir or something, maybe? Obviously, it would be a dramatic, actually good version of that, not me taking the piss. But no, Amir Drasil. Amir Drasil, not Amir Drasil. Amir, A-M-I-R, which I'm assuming it's... Like, it could be whatever, because obviously it's Darnassian. Drasil is Darnassian for crown. So it could be like basically anything. Could be anything, but the most notable thing I saw was in... Because it means a couple different things, because it's a pretty short thing. But in Persian, it's a name that has been said to mean immortal or immortality, which to me immediately made sense for, oh, the crown of immortality, Amir Drasil, makes sense. Makes complete sense. Yeah, I had a friend named Amir, or I had a friend named Amir. Yeah, and there's also Amir Khan, the British boxer. Oh, yeah. And people were like, oh yeah, it's a boxing tree, sweet, let's go. But yeah.
So, did you do the Bane one?
Me, I did not. I have not done it yet.
Never mind.
Oh, the poll?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the poll's running.
Yeah, okay, so 56% have done Bane, 31 haven't, 13 are saying what quest.
Yep.
That's certainly interesting, and people who are here will have a bias towards knowing about that stuff, because we keep on, telling you about it. So that's spooky. I would be, I'd be a bit spooked to find out what that real number is, like out in the player base at large.